doll friends, this is Michael Canadas with the Grandeur Doll Museum and Carmel Doll Shop. We are in the Susan and Lou Nunes collection, and today I want to share with you a couple of epic 18th century dolls. And I'm going to get right into it. And when I say epic, this is something you do not see every day. Is a Georgian wooden that is probably a good 29 inches tall. I'm going to just take that as a guesstimation because I don't have my measuring tape. And this is about as big as they come. There may be bigger, but that would be few and far between. So we are going to date her at probably the mid 18th century. And what I think is very interesting about her facial features, if you notice, she's got a little tiny pointy chin and big puffy cheeks. And this was a very fashionable look for the time because dental hygiene was very poor in the 18th century, no matter what your class was. So how upper class ladies remedied that, they stuffed their cheeks with rags to give them full puffy cheeks. And that's where you see this exaggerated in this area here. That's from their little cheeks being stuffed with rags. And of course, that also changed how people spoke. Because imagine talking with your mouth filled with wet rags. So that's one thing that I think is very special about these dolls when you see that. Then the overall costuming of this doll is really out of this world. Talking with Cheryl Williams this morning about a shift, which is basically a chemise, but it's called a shift in the 18th century, whether it was exposed or not. So if it had a decorative edge, it would be exposed. If it did not have a decorative edge, it would be under the other garments, such as the stomacher, which is the piece here, and then the over piece. But this one is also interesting too, because the shift comes down into a blouse. Then the other thing that is amazing that have survived for over 200 years, if you notice that she's got her fingerless gloves still on her hands. And look at the size of the fingers. They're quite little sausagey fingers. So that's really amazing that we have a documentation of a pair of gloves from the 18th century, even though they're in miniature. Now, then the next thing we would notice is that she has a petticoat that is in this kind of nice corally, pale pinky, all hand quilted. And when I say a petticoat, this is not in the same sense as the 19th century petticoat, which would be an undergarment. A petticoat in the 18th century was an outer garment. Now, you could layer something on top of this. In the winter, you could put a woolen piece over it or another silk piece, but it was meant to be exposed. And then we also have kind of unusual piece, a wrap, if you like, or a fichu, if you like. But the real rare things that she has, she's not even wearing. We have them displayed so that way you can see them. These are very special items in this grand Georgian lady's toilette. And I want to point out that these are pockets. So don't think of pockets like pockets now. This was a lady's pocket. So I want to point out the amazing needlework. Simply a nice running stitch, but even tight. It almost looks like it's done by a sewing machine, but I can assure you that it is not. So this would be tied around the waist, and then there are openings on each side of the petticoat that the lady could reach in and find it could be her keys, it could be a handkerchief, it could be her monies, who knows what, anything that a lady would put in her purse in the 18th century could go in the pockets. And another really rare item that came with this doll was this horn book, which is a 18th century toy, and these were made in a learning toy, and these were made in various medias. This one happens to be ivory, but it could be made out of cardboard, it could be made out of wood, you name it, anything that, and I'll flip it over and you can see it's ivory. Sometimes you'll find that the numbers, but here it's just the alphabet. So this is kind of a wonderful thing to have come with a doll. And I am going to next very gently lift up her skirt so that you can see her remarkable shoes that are cobbled, definitely made by a shoemaker. I don't think someone could make those at home. And then you can see her striped panier, which is basically a hoop skirt, but oblong instead of round. So this doll has all of the wonderful items that you would find on an 18th century doll. Now her little friend here, this is more of a size of a doll that people will come across, but a very unique face, and again the very big oversized hands, because remember, in real life, if you put her hands up to her face, they would be in proportion to a human, but traditionally doll people have always made hands a little smaller. Lovely costume, and what I do think is out of this world is the embroidery on her decorative apron. So we have silk threads and tinseled metal work, just a cute little piece. She, to me, represents a little girl, where the grand lady is a young lady, maybe 20 years old. And then, off topic, but I think it's in this tableau, and I'd like to show you, is this papier-mâché piece that is known. You can look at it and think, oh, well, that's a little Toffling or a Machman, if you like, all those other names. But it's actually a poupard. So it's all swaddled. And get ready for this. Look at that. And in my and David's career, it's going on 40 years, I have never seen this. I have seen similar things in China and similar things in rubber, but never in papier-mâché. Slightly scandalous that the baby has no clothes on, but it makes a wonderful surprise for people that collect early dolls. So I'll put her, it could be a he, because pink was at this time was a masculine color, not a feminine color, and I'll put her, but we're going to pull back in the camera and let you have a full view of this beautiful tableau. And it's very hard in the newness collection to find a favorite, but I'd have to have about 50 favorites, and this would be in my 50 most favorite dolls. Now we're going to go downstairs, and this is something, again, that you just don't see every day. This is a 18th century carton You could say paper mache. Because of the material, it has lots and lots of different names, but basically this is a giant paper mache from the 18th century with, interesting enough, a wooden body. So it had a paper mache head that they could easily reproduce and get it to be just exactly what they wanted by putting it into a mold, but it has a wooden body. And like her sister upstairs, she has her original gloves on her hands and her original hairstyle and a magnificent costume. And I wish I could show you how the body functions, but when you have these textiles that are this old, we just cannot take them apart to show the body. But it is a marvel. And you can see that the beauty marks, which were a very stylish thing to have and have a language of themselves, she has, I think, 3. So we'll have to look that up, what that means, those 3 beauty marks. But this is a fantastic piece. And again, we're into 30 plus inches. And the other thing that's very interesting is this doll came out of a French chateau, and we happen to know the name of the chateau. And for now, we can't reveal that, but that is very, very unique to have a provenance on a doll of this age. So I hope you enjoyed this peek of these magnificent dolls in the corner of the Susan and Lou Nunes collection. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.